So long as like Alchemy.
All right, here we go. Hey, I know. So usually I'm one day late, but when there's a big game or a turn of events,
Y'all want to see a dead body?
Warrior fans, hold your heads. Nah, I'm messing with y'all. Bucks, Warriors. I had to double down on my videos today and address both the YouTube audience and the Patreon audience. Just dropped about a 15-minute breakdown of the whole game on my Patreon right now. Let's bring some context. I think that's my favorite word right now, to this game. Milwaukee heads out on a West Coast road trip in Portland, and they proceed to get torched by CJ McCollum. He tried, Jennifer, and he did, right? And so 27 of those points, I believe, came in the second half, most of them in the third quarter. Now, those of you, I remember when I covered the Bucks-Boston game, I talked about Bud's defensive strategy, in particular with the pick and roll and his centers, Lopez and Ilyasova, dropping into the paint. They got torched for three. Portland torched them. CJ torched them in the mid-range. And going into this game, I'm like, I think Steph, I don't think they can do that against this team, right? Well, that loss to Portland really prepared them. I don't know if we got this game last night without the L in Portland and what CJ McCollum did, because Bledsoe, Brogdon, Middleton, their guards, I want to give them a lot of credit for their physicality, their execution, and their ability to fight over and through and under screens. Now, there weren't the best screens being set. They weren't Zaza Pachulia screens. They weren't Andrew Bogut screens out there last night, Damian Jones and Jordan Bell. But, their ability, I haven't seen a team. And again, it goes back to doing it now it's early in the season and they're probably going to get better and better at it. But their ability to recover, they recover. They don't quit on plays because it's their strategy, and they challenge shots from behind. And it had the Warriors sped up and out of rhythm. Then you combine that with their length in Giannis, and you saw them close out and contest, and it's getting in their head. Those of you that hoop, when there's a shot blocker on the floor, they don't necessarily have to fly into your face and change your arc on your shot or get a fingertip on it. Just their presence within the vicinity of where you're shooting can make you second guess, and we saw that with McKinney and Jerebko and our other guys. But I thought that Golden State, they weren't taking the shots the defense was giving them, and KD and Steph in particular, because Lopez, and they were a little more dynamic. He came out a little further at times, but if they came right off the screens and pulled, it was there. But they weren't looking for it, almost as if they weren't prepared. But again, I think they were also concerned with the trailing defender. Bledsoe and Brogdon, those guys, they fought over so quickly. They were coming from behind, and it just had them sped up and out of rhythm, right? Now, Steph Curry, pulled abductor, and I don't think it's too serious. Those of you that have done that, it's the groin area, right? It's one of those things where it's kind of weird, where sometimes you do it, you wake up the next morning and it's like it never happened. You're like, damn, I'm good. That's what's up. And then sometimes it just lingers and it lingers, kind of like a hamstring where you think you're all right. You get down in your stance. The thing with a groin in basketball is when you're moving laterally, that's when it bites you, right? And so I expect him to be out at least a week, just if not for precautionary reasons. Why risk it? Why risk it right now? I know there's Houston coming up next week. But Steph Curry is the quarterback of this team, right? And what's the saying with a quarterback? They get all the credit, so they got to get all the blame. There's your boy butchering quotes again. You know what I'm saying. So we want to give Steph all the credit, not all of it, but we want to give Steph the majority of the credit when this team is rolling. He's the head of the snake. So we've got to give him some blame when it doesn't go right. And he just didn't look engaged. We've seen him out of rhythm the last few games. And it almost is like he came into the season wanting to, he came out blazing and he had an agenda of letting people know I'm still here. I'm still a 2-time MVP and why not be a third, right? And it's now that he has everybody buzzing and talking about him and he's leading the league in scoring. It's almost like he's lost interest now in the young season. I'm not saying like long term. I'm just saying right now, currently in November, he came out, he put his stamp on the season in the beginning and now he's kind of lost interest because he just didn't seem to care too much. And then things tend to happen like that. We've seen some freak injuries from Steph, JaVale falling on his knee, stuff like that. But tweaks and little injuries like that tend to happen when you're not playing hard because you're cruising and then your body's not prepared for the sudden movements that you decide to make. Kerr, I don't think he really coached this game to win. So obviously no Draymond Green, and we can talk about what would have changed differently. And honestly, Giannis looks so good. I don't know what Draymond could have done either. You look at him bully balling his way downhill and how they allow the shoulder charge with Giannis. He gets away with it. And then in the post, he's so long, he doesn't really need to beat you. He just kind of steps around you. So, but I mean, obviously things would have been different with Draymond. I'm not saying the Warriors would have won, but it would have looked different even on offense. I think we missed him offensively, initiating the offense. You saw Damian Jones and Bell get the ball and they just kind of shat themselves. And I say Kerr didn't really coach this game to win because I don't think you start Jordan Bell if this game was important. If this was an NBA Finals series and Draymond wasn't playing, you'd see Kevon Looney in that starting lineup. And I thought he did a decent enough job. As the game went on, I thought Looney started to learn the Bucks and their tendencies, and that's what makes him such a good defender. McKinney. Now, here's a detail. This is a patron detail. Again, there's about a 15-minute breakdown of this. McKinney, you knew he was going to come back down to earth. And like I said, all their shooters were sped up. They were just out of sorts because the defensive strategy, you don't see that being employed this often in the NBA anymore. Teams where they rely on their guys to get through screens, that's unheard of, right? Everything's switch. So it was a different look in a game, in one isolated game in a vacuum. It totally discombobulated the Warriors. But one detail from McKinney I brought up in my Patreon video is a tendency that he's doing is he was looking down at the line as he caught to make sure he was behind the line. And shooters know you don't do that. That's breaking the rules of the game. And so I know he knocked one down, but he struggled. And it's a little different right now because the hype train has begun with McKinney. I'm on it. We all own it, Warrior fans, right? But all of a sudden, what comes along with that is expectations. Because initially, right, McKinney was coming in and he was playing free. There was no expectations. We didn't know what he was. We didn't expect anything. Now, we're going to have to see how he deals with that throughout the season now that teams are prepared to sell out him on the three ball and that there's a bit of an expectation from the fan base and his teammates. Let me talk a little. What was the game before that? I know what the game was before that. Rockets OKC. I might have been wrong about the Thunder, man. I might have been wrong. And I kind of had like an epiphany about Russ during this game. You saw him with the fit. Him and DeMarcus going to the same stylist. These dudes have stylists these days. But I wanted to say something about Russ because y'all know I love taking shots at Russ, and I'm not a fan of his game on the court. But watching, him in the huddle with the clipboard, watching him talk to Paul George at breaks and congratulate guys, and the way his teammates respond to him, the respect he gets from that arena. I tweeted out, Russ is the Don in OKC. He is the Don Dada. And as much as, non-OKC fans and people around the NBA kill him for his playing style, you have to take into account the way his Paul George re-signing and the way people treat him within the organization. He commands a respect, and it's not a fear. It's a different, when you watch like LeBron, it's different than LeBron, where a lot of the time when you watch LeBron with his teammates, you see them, they listen to him and they take heed because it's like they have to. And with Russ, it seems different. It almost seems it's like because they want to. And I thought that was kind of cool to see. But again, Sam Presti, I had talked about the shooters and how he's organized this roster. And I was thinking about it and I was like, man, this dude looked like he's straight out of Mad Men, But that's neither here nor there, right? But Presti, what I like about his style of GMing is he swings for the fences. There are no safe picks from Sam Presti. You look at Ferguson, Diallo, just go down the list of guys and moves he's made, and he swings for the fences. And I like that. I respect that as a fan, even though he's missed quite a bit. But this kid Ferguson, he looks like he's going to be a Roberson replacement. Now the jumper, it's picturesque. And the one thing I question about it, now he's knocking it down, is when you have a guy that has such elevation on a jumper like that, what will his legs look like come playoff time? But what I was more impressed with from Ferguson was he kept getting switched on Harden. Now, Harden doesn't look like MVP Harden. Let's keep it a buck. But we knew he's quick enough. You can look at his build. You're like, all right, he's quick. He's a young player. But he didn't get bulldozed by Harden. Harden wasn't able to just physically step through him like you see with some smaller guards they try to put on Harden. So Ferguson, Patterson. Now, this is year 2 after the knee surgery. A lot of the times it takes guys 2 seasons to get back after a surgery. Patterson looks better. You got Nerlens Noel. So OKC runs these boys off the floor. And Houston, man, I've prematurely announced the death of Chris Paul probably 4 times. And it's because I don't like him. I ain't gonna front. I don't like him. I don't care. So it is what it is. So I'm a little reluctant to say so now. We're 11, 12 games into the season, but let's keep it a buck, y'all. Houston fans, CP don't look the same. Harden, we know he's nagging. There's hamstring. He looks a little fat and shit, but Harden's still in the prime of his career, so I'm not as concerned. But CP don't look the same. Is he 34 now, 5'10"? You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. He don't look the same. And so that's the bigger concern. Melo with the huge return to OKC. Nah, right? But yeah, man. So OKC fans, I think you got a lot to be optimistic about, particularly Ferguson and just some of these younger dudes, Diallo, if they're going to be able to contribute with their athleticism, switchability, and if Russ and Paul can stay healthy, Adams, as physical as he is, you wish he would be a little bit better passing out of the post, right? It's so methodical when they do post him. And if he just was just a better passer, move the ball a little quicker, he'd generate a lot of threes. And then Raymond Felton, the last thing I want to say about OKC is Raymond Felton, I like to call him my fat little nigga. Right? He looked like a UPS driver. I've given him hell for a long time too. Look at this. It's an all love Alchemy episode, right? But do you understand how good Raymond Felton has to be at basketball to be in the NBA? Like, given his physique and physical traits. And so he's more than serviceable as a backup guard, and I respect how hard he plays. So yeah, OKC, man, they look much better than I anticipated. The Rockets, again, you know what time it is. You see D'Antoni. A picture says 1,000 words, then video says 1,000,000. And I'll leave you with this last thing on that. Harden's no fool, man. We know he ain't in shape yet, but he knows where his bread is buttered. Look how quick he gets over to these boys. But yeah, man. So what do you got? Warriors, Brooklyn. They're going to probably be severely undermanned because you're expecting no Livingston, probably no Draymond, no Steph. And Brooklyn is no longer a pushover. They play super hard. And with the amount of threes they shoot, if they're knocking them down, I wouldn't be shocked if they're in the game late at Oracle Arena on Saturday night, or perhaps steal one. I'll be back with that breakdown. Hit the like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.
I've been winning so long, it's like alchemy.